social media access station. For more information, visit u923fm.com today.
Hello everyone, we are live on air Olga show. We starting with our English part, broadcasting live on 92.3 FM. You can also find us at u923fm.com. That would be internet radio. If you want to see us live on Ustream, it's also available. Just search on Ustream under Olga show. Later our video would be available on YouTube. And of course today we have another guest, wonderful guest. He was at our show before, Roger Royce. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Olga. Good to be here again.
Yes, I know you download us with a lot of information, and here you are, probably have so many changes in the law industry, just to be sure that we are right on track here.
We always have lots to talk about.
That's for sure. It's like so many amendments, so many new rules, and it's good to follow the rules.
Well, I agree. As a lawyer, I always advise following the rules.
So any changes since the last time we talked in legal services and legal life here?
Certainly, there's been lots of changes, both in my industry as well as in the law. And one of the things that you may have heard about recently that's gotten a lot of press are some new rules that the Securities and Exchange Commission has now promulgated and proposed as final rules with respect to solicitation and advertising of securities investments. Now, this is something we've been waiting for a long time. It's not a surprise. It's been a long time in the coming. In fact, it was more than a year ago that President Obama signed the Jobs Act into law last April 2012, which required the SEC to come up with these rules that would allow parties to advertise and solicit when they sell securities. That was never allowed before. It's taken a while, but we now do have some new rules with very specific guidelines, which will go into effect in about 60 days.
Wow, that will make our life easier if we have securities, or even if you don't have securities?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Congress tends to be government tends to be a little schizophrenic, and we have a case where Congress gives and the SEC takes away. Is how the Jobs Act has been shaping up. So what the new law is going to provide, or these new rules, is that a company now that wants to sell its stock, it can advertise the sale of that stock, provided that it only sells that stock to what they call accredited investors, and that it verifies that its investors are all indeed accredited. Now, accredited, as a lot of your listeners probably know, it used to mean a wealthy person 80 years ago when the definition was first put into place, but it now means somebody who earns more than $200,000 a year for the last 2 years, $300,000 jointly, or has a net worth excluding their residence of $1 million. What's significant? So it's two things. Number one, you can advertise. You can go blast all over your website that you're selling securities. If you only take the money from accredited investors, and two, you have to have a process in place to verify that they are indeed accredited.
All right. That's definitely makes it easier if you have $1 million in assets.
Yeah, so let me tell you what I think is going to happen. As a practical matter, with what's going on with technology and social media, companies are well poised. There are platforms out there that can blast information out about a company that wants to sell its securities. And once these rules become effective, I think you're going to see that on a very large scale. So it's the free flow of information. It's going to be much easier for somebody who wants to invest to find a company that they can invest in, as if that was ever a problem.
Now, and I also see a lot of, many times, during startups events.
Yeah.
And so what in terms of startups, is there any changes in legal industry?
Well, as you probably know, my law firm, it runs a webinar series, and we try to stay on top of new technologies. And in the past month, we've had presentations on 3D printing, we've had presentations on Bitcoin, we've had presentations on agritech, and we've had presentations on law tech. And I could certainly talk for the entire hour about law tech and what's going on with the legal profession in terms of technology. My firm, for example, has just this week launched, which is why you see me at all the startup events. We have just this week launched our Incorporator. And what it is, it's a very simple, user-friendly, easy web portal where a person can log on to the Royce Law Incorporator, fill out a few questions, and if you have trouble with the questions, a little decision tree pops up and helps you through it. And once you fill out the questions, you push a button and you can get your corporation. So you pay one flat fee, you answer a few questions, you get a corporation, and you get an hour of legal time. You get an hour of time with a lawyer to go through it, to make sure that you've chosen the right entity, that you're in the right jurisdiction, that there's not some special tax election that you should make, that there's not some special regulatory filing. Most foreign companies don't know that when they form a company here in the U.S., they oftentimes have to file a notice with the BEA, the Bureau of Economic Affairs, of the Commerce Department. So there's a lot of little traps like that. And the problem that I've seen out in some of these legal tech solutions is that they don't have a lawyer interface. It's really do-it-yourself. Now, if I were to set up a site that would authorize do-it-yourself surgery, I probably wouldn't stay in business too long. Or do-it-yourself heart surgery, do-it-yourself brain surgery, or pretty much do-it-yourself anything. However, you see a lot of sites that say this is do-it-yourself law. You can go on there and do all sorts of damage to yourself and your business and your company. I like the idea of the technology. I like lowering the cost by automating the process. That's what we're trying to do. We want to add one more thing, and that's to have a little bit of legal oversight to make sure that everything turns out the way it was intended and everybody's expectations are met.
So talking about corporation and that application, how much it will cost?
In our Incorporator, it's a $1,000 flat fee.
Because usually it's like 2,000.
That's right.
And then you have 1 hour of legal advice,
Right.
kind of guiding you through the darkness or complexity of the law.
Right, exactly. And there are a lot of questions that ought to be answered. It's not the kind of thing, and I can tell you it's almost every week that I sit down with a company that has done it themselves, their incorporation, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's a pretty unpleasant thing. Hopefully most of the time we can go back and clean it up and redo everything and fix it, but sometimes you can't. So that's the problem that I want to solve here.
Now, why in your legal profession you chose to work with startups?
Well, for a couple of reasons. It's interesting you should say that because part of it is where I am, based in Palo Alto. It is the center of the startup universe. There's no doubt about that. And if you're in San Francisco, you might say that's now the center of the startup universe, which is why we have an office up there as well. But certainly this area is. So we are right in the middle of that environment, and I've been here for 21 years. But I started my practice in a very large firm in New York City, working for multinationals, multi-billion-dollar multinationals, doing the transactions that you would read about on the front page of the New York Times. And if I had stayed in that environment, that's what I would be doing now. And I like the startup environment much better. I think it's more exciting. I think we're right here at the forefront of innovation. We're seeing how the world is changing. I meet the people every day that are changing the world. And I think I'd rather be involved in the community that changes the world rather than that old community that basically preserves the status quo.
All right. So when you have been a child, did you dream of being an attorney?
I was never a child. I was always a crusty old lawyer. Yeah, I did. My father was a small businessman back in North Dakota, and one thing that I realized at a very young age, I noticed that whenever there was a problem or an issue or a question, you would go to a local lawyer. The lawyer was sort of the town shaman, right, or a magician. He had all the answers. He knew the law of business, the language of business. He could give you the answer and resolve the problem. And it seemed to me to be a very important, powerful, and significant role. So I started out at a young age having somewhat of a fascination and an interest in that particular role. And as I got older, I became very much intellectually interested in the legal process itself.
So where did you go to the school?
I spent some time in my home state of North Dakota and also to NYU, New York University School of Law. I have an advanced degree in taxation. They call it an LLM.
Yeah, I noticed that you have the right to be an attorney or practice your legal practice in New York, California, and a few other states.
Yes.
So can you tell me more about it?
Well, you've done your homework.
Yes, I do it periodically. I'm
Yeah.
a scientist.
Yeah, I'm licensed in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, New York, California,
So when you
and
can
Nevada.
visit your father or family in North Dakota, you can still kind of do your legal practice
Theoretically, I suppose so.
or send some startups there.
But you know, I've just the reason for that, seriously, is because I've in the 30 years I've been doing this, I've been in a lot of different places. I started out in the Midwest, I remember doing work out in the oil fields of the Dakotas way back in the mid 80s. I remember working on things like the windfall profits tax, which I'm sure not anybody remembers anymore, and working with oil men. I went from there to New York City and worked with investment bankers during the end of what they call the go-go 80s on mergers and acquisitions and big transactions and investment banking stuff. I went from there. I did work with the Hollywood community. We represent some of the major studios and got familiar with that area. But most recently, I've been up here in the technology community here in Silicon Valley.
And let's talk about events, as I saw you like almost every day for the past week, and you did even far and beyond what I could possibly physically do. Went to all of those meetups and pitch and demo events. Let's start from Sunday or Monday of last week. You went to you went to Hacker Dojo. What was that all about?
Let's see, that was a panel. I moderated a panel of VCs at a pitch event. We had 5 companies pitch to the VCs, and I basically just coordinated the presentation.
And I have to say that you have been moderator in many events as well.
Right,
I
right.
saw you at Tim Draper event
Right,
when we talk about crowdfunding.
right.
Well, I didn't talk, I just listened and enjoyed.
Right.
And crowdsourcing, I guess that's what we talk. And then that was Monday, and then we're talking about nighttime. So you have your regular job during the day, and then from 6 to 9, 10, 11, because
Yeah.
people ask you lots of questions.
Right.
And then you go in on Tuesday, is it Coxwell, Polytech?
Right. Tuesday we did an event at, I'm getting them mixed up now. There's been so many of them.
Okay,
but
just, you can...
So so Tuesday was Cogswell, that's right. And that was demo day. A lot of companies came out to present, ours being one of them with our incorporator. And that was a little more low-key. It was just presentations and demo. Wednesday, Vader had their Venture Shift conference up in San Francisco, where they had several panel presentations by noted local VCs. And also, there was an event at the Microsoft campus that we were at. 400 people attended that. Another demo day with presentations.
I think that was the Founder Institute.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
the
the
Founder
Founder
Institute.
Institute. And how did you compare from startups who just starting
Yeah.
and those who went through the Founder Institute, as I'm familiar with them a few
Yeah.
times already?
Then you'll have to tell me, because as good as I am, I can't be in 2 places at once when they're 50 miles apart. So I was in San Francisco, and my associates were at Microsoft campus in Mountain View. That's the great thing about Silicon Valley. For those of you in your listening audience, one of the things you'll notice about this ecosystem is that it is 24/7. There's every day of the week. You can go to a startup event or hear a panel or get education or get training or meet people or network or find a business partner or co-founder every day of the week, several times a day.
All right, and then I guess on Thursday, Friday, you also went to Yuri Rabinovich event, Startup Social, which I'm aware and I know them very well as well.
Well, Olga, just so we're all clear, this is not a typical week for me. I don't do this every week. This, like I say, we're launching our incorporator product, and I think it was important to kind of get the word out to the startup community, and I believe that we've done that.
That's very good, yes, because I saw your information and I thought that would be good for all of us to know, because we have a big outreach community here through the radio, through Ustream, through internet and social media, so that's good.
And it's not too late because we've got another week coming up. And as you know, on Monday the 22nd, starting early in the day at 4 o'clock, we are going to be doing another panel that I will be moderating of local VCs, also some product demonstrations with a group called Angel Launch at Ming's Restaurant in Palo Alto, that's 1700 Embarcadero.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, as I did my research on that as well.
Oh, good.
So the Harvest Route was there organizing together with you.
Mm-hmm.
And what can you say about her? Because she usually in Los Angeles, Hollywood area, and now she's storming into Palo Alto and San Francisco area as well. So.
Well, again, like I say, this is the center of the startup universe, and it's not a secret. It's not like we're trying to hide that from anybody.
We're not hiding.
And the rest of the world has found that out. Now, I have been to Zahava's events in Los Angeles many times, and they are very high quality, good, well-run events. So she's brought her toolkit up here a couple of times before. I've moderated panels with that group in the past. And it's just a very high, you're going to find it's a very high quality event. It's well worth the time and the effort.
So coming from 4 to 9, so do you have breakdown time for moderating the panel? And
Yes.
what's the schedule?
So I don't actually have the schedule in front of me, but there will
I kind
be
of remind you a little bit.
Oh, yeah, you did. So we'll start off with general networking. There'll be a followed by a panel discussion, kind of walk our panel of VCs through their discussion of what's new in technology and where the big opportunities are, followed by some pitches, followed by some more networking.
All right. And those VCs, do you remember the names? Or I
No.
can go after the break, I will look it up and we will read out loud and come back to Angel Launch event. Is it anything else should be aware for the next week?
Is there anything else? Probably, but nothing that's too far out for me to recall.
Yeah, I know, because you have a very big event on Monday and it's usually Monday slow, but you guys decided to do it anyway and run it.
Yeah, again, every day is crowded in this town, so Monday seems to be the best choice to do something like this.
Because it's less events probably on Monday, but it looks like it's filling up. I don't care if it's Saturday morning, something else going on, or it's evening. Every day something happening. I
Well,
agree with you.
since you ask, there is one other event that I'm moderating on Thursday evening for a group called the VC Task Force. And this again is another panel of VCs, but an international panel. And you'll be particularly interested in this. The name of the panel is Doing Business in the BRICS, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And we've got a panel. It's going to be a very interesting discussion for the VC Task Force Going Global series, where we're going to hear about the challenges and opportunities for companies and investors who want to do business in any of those countries, and the cross-border opportunities from people who have been there and done it at a very high level.
Now, being moderator during the panel discussion, do you think it's very useful for startups to listen those panelists?
Do I think it's useful for startups to listen to those panelists? Well, yes, I do.
It's
Otherwise,
like
I
a
wouldn't
naive
do
question from me. I know that it's useful, but I want you to kind of tell my
it.
listeners
I know
about it.
I'm too literal, aren't I? Where else in the world can you sit down and be 20 feet from the type of people that you find in the Silicon Valley that have had the experience that the people here have had in investment, in business, in international business? So, as you know, about a year ago, I was involved in a charitable campaign where we decided, as a way to raise money for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, we would auction off meetings, one-on-one meetings, or group meetings sometimes, with local venture capitalists. We raised a tremendous amount of money doing this.
Because it's hard to reach
Because
them.
it's hard to reach them. What they say is very important. They're at the cutting edge. just yesterday I had lunch with a VC up in San Francisco, and it's like having the best seat in the house because they are at the very cutting edge of what's going on in business and technology. You know, it's sort of like by the time you read it in a paper, it's too late. It's old news. But this is almost like seeing the future. To listen what people are investing in, what they're pulling out of, you know, where they think things are going, what they're interested in. You get that here in Silicon Valley, and these panels are an opportunity for everybody at a relatively low or no cost to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yes, do we say like for those who pay, orders the music? So if they pay to certain industry or certain technology, that's the technology we're gonna use, end users. Of course it's supply and demand as well, but still. At least as startup owner you will know, okay, I probably go to mobile applications, or maybe I go, I don't know, semiconductor industry.
Right. So let me tell you what I'm particularly excited about lately. We just did a presentation on the industry that we call AgTech or Agritech, technologies around the agricultural community. And I think that is probably, just personally, I think that's the area of the most opportunity right now because tech is now been interacting quite a bit with agriculture. You know, there's not a farmer around now that doesn't walk around with a handheld device, an iPad or a smartphone or something like that. And the market is receptive to technology and there's a huge need for it. And statistically, in 2012, depending on how you define ag tech, because it could be broad or narrow, they say there was between $100 and $150 million of venture capital invested in ag tech companies across the nation, which is about the same size as transportation tech, you know, investing in companies that do transportation technologies, spread across 30 or 40 deals. Now, with an industry that has $46 billion a year of commerce in California alone, the thing that strikes me about that statistic is how small it is. So I think there's a lot more opportunity and a lot more things are going to happen in ag tech. And we did a panel presentation last week, and we certainly heard about some of those opportunities, and it is huge. The universe of agriculture tech is huge. And I think as companies start to fill the needs, you're going to see a lot of activity around that. Not just here in California, but globally. All right? Agriculture is a global issue. It's a global industry, and those technologies have applications around the world.
So I guess we do want to have our organic food delivered technologically correct.
You could. That's part of it. It's so I formed a group called AgTech. I also formed a group because there's a fine line when you get from AgTech to food tech, right? From production to distribution and delivery. So I formed another group called Food Tech. We have a website, a LinkedIn page, a meetup, and probably one of the later conferences or presentations we'll put together will be around food tech and wine tech. Because I think there still are opportunities in that, and we could, again, that's another one we could talk all day about.
What about mobile applications?
For the ag tech industry?
Yes.
Absolutely, everything is mobile these days. You know, I'm sure your daughter doesn't ever type on a computer anymore. That her smartphone is her computer, right? And that's the new generation. That's what they do. They do everything on smartphones, and that's true in business as well. More and more is being done on phones. So mobile applications in agritech, what that translates to basically are producers or farmers walking around in their fields with a smartphone, doing monitoring, doing analytics, gathering data, that sort of thing.
Right. I also know that you have a book called Dead on Arrival. Kind of very scary name for the book, I must say, because imagination goes like dead on arrival to planet Earth, on Mars, wherever. Yes.
It does. Okay.
That's my wild imagination, and
that'll be my new book cover then. It's yeah. So the book that we published last year, it's called Dead on Arrival: How to Avoid the Legal Mistakes That Could Kill Your Startup. And where I got the title from is because I've noticed over my career that there are certain legal mistakes that come up again and again and again. It might be a different industry, might be a different geography, might be a different country. Same mistakes. And some of those mistakes are little things. They can be cleaned up. It's just deferred maintenance. Some of those issues are much bigger. They're valuation issues. They cost money. They're going to be a little bit more of a hassle, but they're not fatal. We can fix some of these legal issues. But then there are this other class of legal mistakes that companies make that I call dead on arrival issues. And I call them that because they just can't be fixed. Your company is dead on arrival if you've done one of these enumerated things. So that's where I started with the book, and that's where the title came from.
I know that I had the book already, and when did you print the book? Is it first edition?
It is. Well, yes, it is. It's first edition. It went out last year in April or May, I believe, in May. It just now, last week, came out on an audiobook through audible.com, so you can now listen to it while you drive to work.
So did you do a voiceover or
Yes, I
does
did.
it?
I did.
Because multi-talented as you are with web seminars and moderating the events, I would think that yes, you would probably do it, your own book. And it's kind of nice when you can have the book of the author written and read by author himself.
Right.
So
right.
it's kind of always interesting. All right, so I know we will have commercial break and we will come back to you after that.
Okay.
We'll talk more about Angel Lounge and a few other things we still didn't cover. I know you will have longer time here, as I would assume. It's always nice to speak with attorneys because they keep you right on track, right?
Right, absolutely.
They keep you right on track, they give you great legal advices and suggestions, and they usually on top of something which we probably would not see and cover. So very nice. And of course, anybody wants to call, you can call us at 408-912-5265. I forgot to mention that in the beginning of our program, 408-912-5265. You can also find me at olgashow.org. And Roger Royce, our guest today, and he will be back after the break. So give us some time so we can clear our throat and have fun here, take pictures, and then we will come back to our audience with more questions. So give us a call, send us emails at olga@olga-show.com, and we're going to respond to you during the program or most likely after the program, or bring our guests back. That's what we did this time. Okay, Olga Show for you again, all over Bay Area, from Carmel, Monterey, all the way to Vallejo, Santa Rosa. And then we also have our presence on the internet, and that would be easy to find under Olga Show. Find and search.
Listening to U92.3 FM.